Hey there, welcome to our second case study of the Advertiser's Fix-It tool. Today, what we're going to be talking about is e-commerce, but the fundamentals can be used with any type of offer really that's running on Facebook. So essentially what we've been seeing over the last couple of months is a lot of people are, seeing red in their ads. Now, this could be because of the rising cost of Facebook, or this could be because there's something in their funnel that may be broken, preventing them from making sales and leads. What we find a lot of the times when advertisers are working with funnel builders or people are all trying to do it on their own, a lot of times what people do is they'll change way too many things and they can never really get back on track. What we're going to do in this specific case study, we're going to talk about a product that's really is revolutionary for women who suffer from a couple of different types of ailments that you'll see that happens as women get older, and you'll see here in the video. Essentially what we have is with this case study with Kirsti, it's really quite amazing on a couple of just small little changes that we can make that'll make a huge difference in our business. Again, what I mentioned earlier, what we see a lot of times as we're working with clients and students, we see a lot of times that people believe I have to change everything, or I have to work a lot harder to make more sales after iOS 15. That's not necessarily true. Like what you're going to see in this case study here is we don't actually have to change the ads at all. There's only two things we really need to change with this funnel that can really help scale to the moon. And what I mean scale to the moon is from starting literally from $50, $75, $100 a day, now spending more and more money because the offer is great, but there's a couple of small tweaks. Now, the other thing that we're going to talk about is some channels outside of Facebook that when we put this in the Advertiser Fix Find It tool, if we were to lower just one thing, just one important key performance indicator on another ad channel, oh my goodness, they can scale to the moon on other ad channels as well too. So I'm going to give you a chance to look over our shoulder. I'm going to show you this case study. We're going to look over Kirsti's shoulder as well as we go over our numbers, talk about what's going on right now, what was happening in the glory days, what changed, and what are the specific actions that we can take with this funnel to make it wildly successful and profitable. By the way, if you're watching this video, watch towards the end, because remember, coming up this Monday, we're going to start a 30-day sprint where we're going to use these Advertiser Fix Finder tools to help you with your ads and your funnels. So this is an e-commerce case study. We have Fix Finder tools for webinars, opt-ins, sales pages, VSLs. So with lots of different funnel types out there, we can help you with our Advertiser Fix Finder. And we want to prove that in our 30-day sprint where we take your business, just like we do with Kirsti's, go over the numbers, develop a plan, and know exactly what to do next. That's the most important thing. Having a plan and knowing exactly what to do next to make sure that you can reach your sales and leads goals. So again, welcome to this presentation. Hold tight, take some great notes. If you have any questions, let us know. And by the way, if you want to work with us to help fix your ads and your funnels over the next 30 days, we're going to make you an offer that you can't refuse. Click on the button at the bottom of this video to find out more, but we do start this Monday. So make sure that you sign up before the deadline that you see up top expires. I can't wait for you to dive into this case study. Let me know if you have any other questions along the way. We can't wait to assist you with your sales and goals in this upcoming sprint starting Monday. I'll see you on the other side of the case. Hey, everybody. I appreciate you here watching the case study. We're going to be talking about the Ad Fix Finder tool and specifically talking about an e-commerce person that we've been working with to identify what some of the problems have happened in the past. One of the things that we really like to do with our marketing, we like to call it here at the Belt Method, what Nick and I like to do is ethical propaganda. And what I mean by that is essentially, how can we inform people of something they just didn't know was an option out there? Kirsti's one of these great examples here that really help women in specifically identifying very specific issues. And she basically has a natural solution that most people just don't realize is an option that can help just a ton of people. So what we wanted to do is we've been looking for some different case studies that we can plug into the Fix Finder tool. And again, at the end of the day, is we really want to be able to help people. And here is a perfect example of someone who's really built a really great business and helping people. So Kirsti, if you don't mind, would you tell us just a little bit about your business and what you're comfortable with and how you help women?
Yeah, sure. So my co-founder and I started a business about a year and a half ago to serve women who are postmenopausal. Now, if you have any friends, women, mothers in that age group, you may know that it's kind of a rough stage. Most women in menopause experience hot flashes, they experience more sleeplessness, moodiness, brain fog. There's a lot of different symptoms, but there's a whole range of symptoms that a lot of women don't talk about because it's embarrassing, frankly. one of the big things that happens is a lot of women, like as many as 60% of women postmenopause experience is vaginal dryness, an increase in UTIs, sometimes incontinence. And the one that's probably most noticeable to a lot of women is painful sex. And unfortunately, a lot of doctors have no idea what to do about this. They get very little training, much like in nutrition. They get, if they get any training at all in postmenopausal women's health, it's, 10 hours over their entire life. And this includes OBGYNs, that it's a wildly overlooked area of our healthcare system. And one of the things that women do generally know about, there's a couple of things women generally know. One, they know that these symptoms are tied to their dropping hormone levels. And two, they've often heard of hormone replacement therapy. Now, hormone replacement therapy got a pretty bad rap in the, I think it was early 2000s when or 2010 even, I forget, bad with dates. But when the women's nurses study came out and there was an elevated risk of breast cancer for women who'd been on hormone replacement therapy. Now, the thing to know about that is the hormones women were on, by and large, were what are called CEEs, which means conjugated equine estrogen. It is made from horse urine. And it's similar to the estrogen women create in their bodies, but it's not exactly the same. And as a result, has some side effects that are unexpected. And the reason, and you have been able to get bioidentical hormones for a very long time. There's been compounding pharmacies for decades, in which these estrogen or progesterone are exactly like our body makes. And they're derived from plants, generally soy or yams. And they behave in a more consistent way in our body as our own hormones that we produce. Now, the pharmaceutical companies really don't want those around. They prefer us, pay a lot of money. Often these women are paying $300, $400, up to $800 in copays to get different kinds of hormone replacement therapy. And the reason they do that is because they can't patent plants. And so that's been a big dilemma. And so for a lot of women, these really painful symptoms that they don't feel like they can talk about, or maybe talk about with their doctor, but get no guidance on, go unattended. And they hear hideous things from doctors, like you should just be happy you don't have to have sex anymore, or it's all in your head, something women love to hear, as you can imagine. And so my business partner and I, my business partner's been in bioidentical hormones for a couple decades. And my experience with this has been more personal experience of going through this transition and have it be pretty darn painful and start to wonder how your relationship's going to survive that kind of change. Yeah. And so we put our heads together. I've been an entrepreneur for 21 years and Kate's been in bioidentical hormones. We decided to jump in together and start working on how we could get these to women who are looking for solutions to vaginal dryness. And that is the angle we came in on. Our flagship product is called Silky Peach Cream. And it's been a wild success with women. And it is an estriol product. It's one of the weaker forms of estrogen used topically. Women have had fantastic results. In fact, many of them have had better results with this than any of the pharmaceuticals or more expensive solutions they found. So we're super excited about it. So that we've been doing this about a year and a half now.
At the end of the day, it comes down, like I just mentioned when we first kind of kicked this off, is I like to call it just ethical propaganda, where you have a lot of women who are suffering who won't necessarily talk about it. They just don't feel comfortable talking about it. It's just kind of a process of getting older. The health professionals that they're going to don't really know what to say. They're kind of shoving regular drugs down their face because there's no one from the farmer's market coming in and saying, hey, did you know if you kind of eat these different things? Like, that's just not happening. So the real goal here is, how do we communicate to really good people, women specifically, that have these issues they may have not talked about with anybody else, and they realize, I think they're talking about me, and I think that there could be a solution out there. Wait a minute, it's a fraction of the cost of what I'm paying right now for my medication. So what I want to do now is I want to get in the case study. Now, just to be clear, what we've been doing is we've been sending out some emails asking, hey, if anybody's have seen really good performance or just performance kind of steady and then it dropped for some reason, but you're not quite sure why. Let's use the Ad Fix Finder tool in a case study. Let's talk about what specifically you may want to fix in your ads or your funnel, or maybe even look at a different traffic source. We've kind of joked around, talked a little bit before we started the recording. The main thing is we want to have a solid plan in a small amount of time. What the first goal is, what we want to be able to do is, since we're really taking a look at an e-commerce funnel, we want to take a look at the numbers that you've had the last 7 days. So if you wouldn't mind, would you pull up the numbers in your Facebook account the last 7 days? What I just want to do is just capture these numbers right here. And as you may know, as you've seen some of our other programs, this really comes from our Golden Ad Report.
Yep.
But whenever you have a minute, would you mind grabbing the numbers for the last 7 days? And we'll just walk through this real quick. And we'll start with amount spent.
In the last 7 days, I've spent $10,607.
Great spend. You're obviously doing something right. What's that cost? What's that CPM cost look like?
CPM across my whole account.
Just to be clear, if you're running any video views or anything else, we're really looking at specifically just the conversion campaigns.
My average CPM is $26.26.
How about link click-through rate? When people actually click on the link, not the ad itself?
Average of 2.79.
That's really good. How many link clicks did you get? People who clicked on the link before they hit the landing page?
12,152.
12,152.
132.
132. Okay. How about people who actually hit the landing page? You can either grab that from Facebook or Google Analytics, whatever you like to use.
Landing page isn't very accurate in Facebook.
Sorry, you said it's not very accurate on Facebook or Google Analytics, or?
Sorry, landing page views isn't very accurate on Facebook.
Yeah, we can kind of get close to it. So what do you see on your side?
Well, on Facebook, it's saying 6,185 page views.
Okay. If you were to look at Google Analytics, do you use Google Analytics at all?
I do. I'm kind of a hacker in Google Analytics. I'm actually working my way through a different course right now to get that nailed down better.
What we're looking for is just for your paid traffic, top of funnel. If you are able to see in Google Analytics for the same 7 day period, if you can see what the landing page visits are.
11,349.
11,349. Oh, so how about the next ones? We can either check on Google Analytics, whatever works best for you, or Facebook. Can you tell me how many add to carts that you had? Yep, 820. Okay, so that's great.
Add to cart, 820 reach checkout, 400.
That's really great. Sorry, how many purchases?
471.
471. And what's the average purchase conversion value?
In the last 7 days, average order value has been 26.35.
26.35?
26.13 from, I'm sorry, nope, that's right, 26.35.
26.35. Okay, so this all makes sense. We got all the numbers typed in for the last 7 days. Now we're looking for is the glory days. This could be 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 10 months ago. Hey, this was amazing. We're just looking for a 7 day window just so we can compare those numbers. So would that be like last month for you, 6 months ago? What would you like to compare it?
November was outstanding.
Now, just to ask the question, and I'm really glad that this is one of the reasons we record this. Now, was November great because it was Black Friday and there were some?
I actually ran no seasonal campaigns at all for November or December.
I like talking to you. This is great.
My goal was just surviving Q4.
Totally understand. Looks like you thrived in Q4, so that's great. Okay. So could we grab those numbers from another 7 day window back in November, and we're going to fill the same thing out for spend, CPM, and then add to cart and whatnot? So what we're looking for is basically a 7 day window. Now, just to be strategic on this and to kind of think this through for a little bit, and this is actually one of the reasons we want to be able to provide people support in our 30-day sprint, so we can talk about this specifically. So if we look at November, sometimes depending on when you're running ads, is the CPM is going to go up because so many people are online running November stuff. So if we did the first week in November, that may work. Or like if October was really good for you, I just don't want to get anywhere close to Black Friday because I think those costs are going to show.
Let's take a look at November. Yeah, I mean, my CPMs are actually not wildly different.
Okay, great.
So
great.
Total ad spend for that period was quite a bit less, 3,691.
Now, are we talking about the glory days or the last 7 days?
The glory days.
Okay, so one more time, what was that? 3,000 what?
3,691. CPMs were $25.60. Click-through rate was 4.78.
Ooh. How many link clicks?
6,388.
6,388. And how many landing page visits?
Landing page views is 5,756. Add to carts 561.
Initiate checkout?
550.
Great. Purchases?
327.
Average purchase conversion value?
Average order value was $21.
2152?
No, 2103.
03. Okay. So a couple of things here before I kind of drop down to the next part. First of all, thank you for sharing the information. Second of all, I can see some interesting things that are going on right here, but I want the tool to kind of show this as well. The third thing is a lot of people are really going to have to do this more and more of the exact process that you just walked through. It's not just looking at Facebook and saying, okay, let's take a look at link clicks, landing page views, add to cart. You went into Google Analytics and took a look at those numbers. Now, if we were only looking at Facebook numbers, it would show that there's some pretty big apparent problems. But when we actually look at the close enough data that we have inside of Google Analytics, it really shows us a more accurate picture. So if someone's watching this right now and you're only relying on Facebook data, I'm not saying you have to go out and buy a third-party system that tracks everything, which you really start needing to really use in Google Analytics, because as we start moving into different ad channels, Facebook, Google, direct mail, stuff like that, or sorry, any other really digital channels, it's like we're all inside of a digital sandbox, right? Each person's kind of siloed. So you're going to have Google Analytics going forward. And this is just a really great, it's a really great reason to do it. So let's take a look at this here real quick. You had mentioned this before. Now, the big difference what we're going to see here is rate of change in spend. The difference in the spend obviously is just going to lead to a lot more clicks. So this is going to be a little off. We really see right here the click-through rate. That's kind of the biggest thing, right? There's a huge difference in your click-through rate, right? Huge, which is great. I'm just going to kind of move on down below just because the spend's so different. But I do notice the purchase average conversion value has gone down just a little bit. And we'll talk about that a little bit more kind of in the calculator. So I'm just kind of curious. Let me take a look at this because we're really looking. Oh, here's the thing that we really look at. Dang it, I'm going to get ahead of myself, but I'm going to say it anyway. When I see a client who has a conversion rate, landing page to I don't care what your funnel is, to purchase, depending on your price point, if you are above 3% conversion rate, 3% purchase rate, usually you can scale that on a lot of different channels and you have some great scale. I mean, you spent $10,000 in the last 7 days, but at 5.68%, oh my God, just turn up the traffic. Like those are really strong and great numbers. So it looks like you have a good offer here. I mean, obviously you're running the spend for it. Purchase conversion value a little bit higher. Now let's kind of jump on down to the second part of the tool where I want to kind of give a report card on things. So what I want to take a look at is anything that's green. Maybe we can make a small little tweak to it, but they're pretty good averages. This isn't saying like everything in green is, hey, this is a good industry average. No, if you were getting a report card, things in green is like a B+ and above. You're doing really well. So when I look at the CPM cost, maybe we can get that a little bit lower. But when you just showed me the comparison from the glory days versus what's going on right now, that doesn't seem to be the problem, not the CPM. There are different ways to lower it. There's some different ad channels we can talk about. But the second thing is we take a look at the click-through rate. Click-through rate is really great. 2.79 is great. Now, just to point out, as you mentioned before, in the glory days, a 4.78 click-through rate is it's huge. It's really great. So you get a good click-through rate like that, you can get some really inexpensive traffic back to your site where you can test a lot of different stuff. So I'm just curious just to ask the question. And again, we're not going to focus on click-through rate as much because that doesn't seem to be the problem overall. But do you recall what was the big difference in your click-through rate, the glory days versus now? Any different ads, creatives, user-generated content, anything like that?
Honestly, it's the same top of funnel ad. So
what we've seen a lot of times is wider targeting helps a lot more. So what we're doing a lot more is we're finding a lot more interest and bundling them into together as much as possible. Mm-hmm. Also, you have good enough conversion rates where sometimes lookalike audiences are hit and miss. Well, again, kind of all different all over the board, depending on who we work with. Sometimes people who use lookalike audiences that were created before the iOS update seem to work well. Other clients have basically said that some of their lookalike audiences after iOS does not work out as well. So I do want to talk about audiences here a little bit more. I got a couple of different strategies there for you. that I think that can help improve that click-through rate. But I want to kind of go through the rest of the numbers because, again, just to reiterate to everyone else who's watching as well too, your CPM cost relatively is pretty good. Your click-through rate's really pretty good. Now, the number that was really going to throw us off is actually people who click on the ad and then actually hit the landing page. So if we would have trusted Facebook's data, we would have said, hey, look, there's a problem with your website where people are clicking on the ad and they're just not getting back to the website. That could be the website just not, loading fast enough. Is what we're able to do is as we lower this down, is we're going to see something called pull this lever, where it gives you a full training, takes you right directly into the training of the link click versus landing page. What we've seen since the iOS update is there's a lot of pages that are just really slow. And we worked with a client who would help speed up landing pages and websites. And I remember watching one of their customers' testimonials that basically said, I remember last year when a website could load at 3 seconds and it was still okay with Google and Facebook. If that website doesn't load within a second, people are bouncing. And I'm like, wow, this is just in a year change. But that doesn't look like it's happening for you. What we see right here is at 93%, anything above 85% of people who are clicking on the ad, hitting on the landing page is really great. Yeah. So it looks like you have a really great connection rate at 93% of people who are clicking on the ad or landing on the page. So we're not wasting any traffic right there. What's interesting is right here is this add to cart rate. And there's kind of two things that I want to talk about here. Number one is the add to cart rate could be a little bit higher. This could be the story we tell, and I'm going to kind of go into that just a little bit. But it looks like once people hit the sales page or the landing page, once they add to cart, oh my goodness, your initiate checkout's the same thing. So it's like they fill in their information. They're pretty much going to do this. And what we're looking for usually once people get in that initiate checkout, we're looking for 30 to 40% of people to actually buy once they get in that initiate checkout. You're at 57%, which is great. So when we get somebody to add to cart, 50% of those people are essentially going to buy. Great number. So the other thing is we start to take a look at your 4.15% conversion rate, really great. So there's a couple of small little tweaks. But again, if we could lower that CPM, we kind of talked about this a little bit before, but maybe even with a different ad channel, your conversions are really strong to support that. So let's take a look at just this number right here, this add to cart. So, and the other thing is right here, I want to talk about average purchase conversion value. Now, typically with Facebook, we like to see like an average checkout value of around $50 because it can account for all the costs. You have really good conversions, so you can have a lower purchase value. But on the other side is, do you do any type of bundles? Like instead of 1 month, $97 or $27, you can get 3 months at $47. Do you do anything like that?
What we do, and this is the difference, actually we're doing the upsell in November too, but we have, in that first week in November, we did not have the upsell launch yet. That's interesting. So that's the difference in that price. And for a while, it was close to 20% taking the upsell. It's dropped off a little bit. It's still around 15%. And we're about to launch a third product, and we're going to start selling some other people's products that are a good fit for our market.
Okay.
So that would allow us to do some bundling that we haven't been able to do so far.
Ooh, okay. So there's a couple of different things that I want to go over there and I want to address because you have a couple of different ideas. I'm going to pull up a training for that here in just a second. I think that we can really add a lot of value here for the average purchase conversion value. What I'm excited, there's just a lot of greens in here. So when I take a look at this, I see a lot of green and I only see 2 reds. Looks like you're doing, so lots of things you are doing unequivocally right. 2 small things that I think we can make adjustments on. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at that. So what I like to do now is I like to have kind of a goal KPI number. So let's just say we're going to spend the exact same amount of money. This is going to build us a plan for what you did the last 7 days. Now your CPM cost at 26, I'm just going to match this because that's doing well. I'm going to match the click-through rate here because that is doing well. I mean, 93%, 93.55%, we're not going to get better than that. That's really good. So add to cart value. What I like to do is I like to try to figure out things that we can do where it makes a small percentage of change. Ideally, what we're looking to do is we are looking to make a rate of change of about 15%, right? Without saying, hey, we're going to get 20% of people to add to cart. Maybe we can get 9. I'll give you a couple of different ideas on how to add to cart from here as well too. But I mean, just a small little tweak there. And then I'm just going to take a look at the conversion rate. I mean, even adjusting just the add to cart value, you're at a 5% conversion rate, which you really should be able to scale in lots of different places. So I'll give you a couple ideas there. And then the other thing is to change the average cart value, because with the average cart value, let's just say this got to, remind me again, how much is 1 month supply of your product?
My top of funnel offer is a heavily discounted first month.
Okay.
So they can choose either a $12 28-day challenge sample bottle, but they're signing up for a subscription with that, or they can choose a $20 one-off. So in about 40% of people sign up for the subscription.
And then does the subscription last for
ever
2-3 months typically? Or they once they're on it, they stick on it?
Yeah, so usually we get, 30 days later, they usually buy, and the subscription price is at $24.95 for a 2-month supply. So they get a 30-day bottle. 30 days later, they get a $24.95. 2 months later, they get a $24.95. We usually we have a pretty good stick rate for the first 3 months, but then as women's bodies start doing better, they can reduce their level. So people usually keep their subscriptions, but start changing the next ship date. So things get a little jankier to project. Okay. But with a single product, my lifetime value has been around $89 for a year. So people who bought a year ago are at around $89.
Okay, great. Great. There's a couple of different ways that I want to take this. I'll bring up a couple of trainings here in just a second to kind of go over and give you a couple of different ideas. But what I like to do now is I like to kind of take a look and say, okay, I know that I'm going to pull this lever. We're going to talk about how to get more people to add to cart. We're also going to talk about how we can increase the average purchase conversion value, possibly just a little bit. I love your idea. I want to kind of talk about that just a little bit more. Now, what I want to basically do is I want to scroll on down here, and I want to take a look kind of about what our predictions are going to be. So what I'm really looking at this green line down here for new estimates. The orange line above is what you're currently doing right now. And of course, what I'm really looking for right here is ROAS, on things that we can look for ROAS. Now, I do want to talk about ROAS here for a minute. I mean, again, hypothetically, you're at a 5% conversion value. It's great. What ROAS are you ideally looking for? It's
been so long since I've been able to hit the ROAS. If we were to break even on the first sale, we need to be more like 1.7 is my memory of it. But because we have subscription model and a lot of repurchasing, we can absorb a loss leader.
Great conversation to have. So I know you've seen our content before and seen our products before.
Yep.
So you may have seen this. Have we talked about? Have you seen the training on the 3 buckets?
Your graphic is new to me. I did your training over a year ago, I think.
Not a problem.
Modified in overtime, then probably not.
Yep. This was in there as well too, but it's a really great kind of discussion to have, especially for what you're looking at right now. So here's what I see from you right now. Just kind of repeat back. You have a really good overall conversion rate I'm really excited about. You have lots of green areas on the Fix Finder tool. Gives us lots of opportunities. Now, the next question really kind of talks about a business philosophy. No right or wrong, just kind of a way to think about this just a little bit. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at basically these 3 buckets. Bucket number 1, we want to maximize as much cash as we can get out of this as possible. That means we're going to be limited on growth. But if we can put in $1, let's say in your case to make 1.75 or 2, we just know that we might not be able to spend $10,000 a week. Maybe it's only 4,000. We're able to get those conversions, and that's it. Or as the second thing that you really alluded to is if you're able to at least break even and pay for your ad spend on day 0 or day 1. Essentially, what ends up happening is once you get people on the subscription and that starts to last a couple of months, this could be a really great acquisition strategy for you, as long as you have a really good customer service, as long as you have repeat buyers. And just quick question, and I know this is a little bit off of topic, but just one of the reasons I kind of stopped and stuttered for a second. Without naming your cost, are your costs low enough where you could accidentally send a second bottle? Well, the reason I ask is because I've seen this done before where people say, hey, we decided to include an extra bottle for you, or we gave you an extra bottle from your shipment. The reason is if you know anybody who's a friend or family that may want to try this out as well, as you both enjoy this experience, here's an extra bottle that you can give to them.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Because it gets friends doing it together and ordering together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just as an idea.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting idea.
If you were to hypothetically send out another bottle or sample for a friend, hey, if you know anybody who's had a hysterectomy, who's above the age of 55, who has X, Y, and Z, this is a present that you can give them to help also give them an idea of how they can alleviate some pain or discomfort. Just saying it a different way. Yeah. What I hear you saying is you have a great customer service experience.
Yeah.
People are really feeling a lot better once you can get them at least to try it for 30 days. So my thought goes around to getting close to that break even or a little bit higher than break even. And what can I do from even that break even is like a thank you. I appreciate to even look for referrals or have someone, how can we kind of squeeze as much as we possibly can?
Right.
Sounds like you have a great customer service experience. Just another idea, because women really like community. As you know, other women suffer quietly through this issue where they suffer for years. If you have a friend or family that's between this age, they've gone through these types of problems or had these types of issues, you may want to gift them this bottle to be able to give them some different relief. As we know, as women, sometimes there's things we do and do not talk about, but as we all stick together, this is one of the things that we can do for our fellow women is here's an extra bottle for you to help someone else. Yeah. Right? Some along those lines, because again, I cannot stress enough, you have great conversions, great customer service. You are just out there to inform and educate people. And once people get this first bottle, have them talk about it a little bit. Because at the end of the day, like if you had investor money, right, let's go at a loss a little bit because this is great. Like this is really great. Because there's a lot of options that I think that you have to lower your CPM as well too. I'm just excited overall for your for the customer service experience that you talked about is the hierarchy of how people basically buy. Eugene Schwartz, I borrow this from Todd Brown. I talk about this all the time. Ideally, if we wanted to capture all the customers, kind of like Amazon, it's that third bucket where we're going to fill everything up. And this is expensive. I have some friends of mine who just raised $89 million and their investors are like, don't worry if you're not making money in the first year, your board of directors has money to go get more customers. Yeah. That is not the business we are in right now, right? That is
no
just
investors,
expensive
just me and my co-founder.
Right. So ideally, if we can get people solution aware, which you are right at right now and break even and really kind of figure that out from the break even, there's just a lot of money here for you. And I think a lot of great opportunity. A lot of people try to suck out as much as they can. Doesn't sound like that's what you're doing. We're just really limited in scale. So, okay. So this is great. I'm going to take a look at a couple of different things. I want to take a look at the landing page versus add to cart. So if we were to basically click on pull this lever, it would take us right into specifically in the training where we need to be that would address this. And then we're going to talk about average purchase conversion value. I have a couple of ideas there. And the last thing I want to talk to you about is just your CPM in that order, just because I think there's a small tweak that can be made here with the add to cart to land or landing page to add to cart rate. Again, just a small difference. I mean, your just conversions are so good. And then we'll talk a little bit more about this because the second thing that you could fix. And then we'll talk about a couple of different new ad channels that I think can do really well for you. Visitors have a clear understanding of what they are buying in next steps. Again, very first question that I ask, that's what it looks like on the landing page one. But if your video already does that, let's test out that second page. So urgency for someone to buy today, limited quantity or time limit to this offer doesn't really, it doesn't sound like you use, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't like fake scarcity at all.
Totally agree. Agree.
And because we're obviously planning for them to use this for the long haul.
Yeah,
sometimes
I totally agree.
Inventory challenges with supply chain, but
yeah.
I
absolutely agree with you. I totally agree with you. Yeah. Yep, totally agree with you. Social proof testimonials and why someone should move forward today. It looks like you have a lot of that on page 2. So adding even to page 1 to test that, the interview that you have, I think that could be great. At the end of the interview, what happens at the end of the interview?
It kind of just, it just is like an end of a teaching segment. I put up a slide at the end of the interview that says, oh my God, even the ending slide, I think it was totally just a throwaway. It was like saving vaginas one person at a time or something like that.
Okay, great. Here's what I would do if I were you. I would go ahead and download. I would edit that video. I would download the video and add an ending to it. Mm-hmm. And what I would do is basically you're going to do 2 different things. Is the first thing that you're going to do is you're basically at the end of the video, you're going to say, hey, if you'd like to stick around for just a little bit, I'm going to go over some frequently asked questions that a lot of people ask me or ask about our product to see how it can benefit you. And the first 5 FAQs you go over is the common objections that people would give you to not buy the product. Mm-hmm. And you're going to turn it into a question. A lot of people believe that because they're on hormone replacement therapy, they're not able to use this product. And actually, that's just not true. And the reason is because a lot of people ask me, can I take this with my hormone replacement?
Right.
And again, I'm just going to make this up. Well, actually, yes, you can, because it's natural. It's made from sweet potatoes. It's absolutely something you can do. It's not going to counteract blah, 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 blah. Okay. So the first 5 common objections that you have, you turn those into questions, right? Your frequently asked questions. And then the next 5, so it'd be like, 10 FAQs. The next 5 would be your frequently asked questions that you have, and just kind of setting expectations, right? It could be, hey, one of the questions asked, how quick will it be delivered to the home? And this could just be you on camera answering these questions. This could be you going over slides. It's completely up to you. People always also like to see the box opening. You're gonna arrive, you're gonna open the box, you're gonna want to set an alarm every single day, take it at the same time every day. People seeing that experience is really good as well.
Yep.
So you'd have the 5 FAQ of most common objectives, 5 of your most common questions, and then at the end, just leave some cheesy music that you have from Canva. Canva's great at this as well. As you know, you can go into Canva, type in testimonials, and all you're going to do is just put Mary Kay and then just repeat whatever you have on the bottom of your site. But for the next 5 or 7 minutes, literally every 5 seconds, it just transforms to another testimonial, just like your slider bar at the bottom.
Yep.
So your video may be 10 minutes long, add in the FAQs and the stuff, maybe 20 or 25 minutes long, but you only need the first 10 minutes. And if they keep watching, when people keep watching after the presentation's over, they're just looking for that one personal piece of information that helps them, that has them make the decision. So I think you pretty much have a really good sales video that you can come up with, you put on the page, I bet. And we're only talking about moving your conversions just a tad little bit. I think it would make a huge difference, in my opinion. Huge.
Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting one. I like that idea.
You have so many puzzle pieces that are so golden when they put together. It's like, oh my goodness, we're not talking about like fixing the entire thing, just a couple of points. And oh, this is exciting. Okay. Are you relieving pain and focusing on the gain? Absolutely, you're doing that. And I see that very clearly. So do you have examples of how the solution has worked for others? So I see some social proof down here before, which is great. Testimonials, real life case studies, you have that. Address the most frequently asked questions about your product and service. That's one of the things we just talked about in the video. Do you address the most common objections about your product and service? We just talked about that now. Why now? You clearly address that, which is great. And really, these are all just kind of baselines as we kind of take a look at just e-commerce specifically. A lot of these is kind of universal with funnels. But if we take a look at this, if you were to get a report card, I don't want to say we're giving you an F, but there's just a small little thing that we can do for add to cart. I think your add to cart would probably be close to almost 15% in my lucky guess. You put that video on top of that first page in the kind of the structure that we have. I think it would make that big a difference. And that's just an astronomical difference to what you have now. Again, your numbers are already really good now, right? So
you're saying put that video at the top of the landing page, not the
Yep, because the first thing that they're seeing now right now is that video or the ad. So when they click onto it, it's just a continuation, but they're now going to be like, don't change your ad that you're running online. You can edit the video that you download and put on your site with the FAQs and stuff like that. And that's essentially your sales video. So we typically prefer to have an average purchase, conversion value we mentioned before, $50 or more. Just kind of makes Google and Facebook work and whatnot. Depending on your advertising channel cost, you may consider adjusting your purchase price to increase your average purchase conversion value. I like what your prices are right now. I like your overall model. Here's a client that we worked with a long time ago, and they do really well. They're called Patriot Greens, and they focus on the same kind of demographic that you do as well. That may be interesting just to kind of look at their page and kind of how they do it. So again, I like what you're doing right now. Maybe this gives you a small aha. I'm looking for small tweaks, not to revolutionize things, right? So with them, one canister, as you can see, is $99, or it's $49 if you buy it right now. 3 canisters, buy 2, get 1 free, $99. Buy 6 canisters, get 2 free. $99 now and $99 in 30 days. So they're selling a 6-month supply versus like if they were to do a monthly recurring, they get to 3 or 4. Something like that may be interesting. And you just need a couple of people to really drive up your cart value with something like that, right? Next thing is finally back in stock, get 4, 2 free, get a bonus gift. Something you may consider as well, if there's any PDFs, any videos, any video trainings, any FAQs you can help people out with. This is a perfect example, is they just put some ebooks on some better eating and some different ideas. Just part of the bundle. All right. Just increase the value just a little bit more. Just an idea, as you work with other partners, as an order bump offer as well too. Like you said, to be able to bundle things. I know that you're working on something like that, which is great. Did you say you have an upsell?
Yeah.
Or did you take that out?
No, we do have an upsell. It's a progesterone.
We talked about the bundle here just a little bit as well too. Here's something else that you had mentioned. The interview with your co-founder. I think Nick has an introduction that we can send on over. I can do that after the call as well too. What's really worked really well for us is basically affiliates who endorse our traffic, right? Who endorse our product. Getting onto podcast has done really well for us. So getting onto podcast for the different interviews, we actually run link click ads middle of funnel to these different podcast interviews. So if someone doesn't buy top of funnel, they'll see link clicks, which I'm going to send them over to someone else's podcast. But typically someone else's podcast is not going to be selling your exact same product.
Right.
So it's going to be really cheap clicks. And if clicks are only like 30 cents versus like $2, if clicks are only 30 cents to get to a third-party page, it gives you third-party credibility because they see your video at first, they click on your website, they don't buy. Now all of a sudden, middle of funnel, they may see 2, 3, 4 podcast interviews. Again, you just have an image that sends it to the other person's site, link clicks. And remember, if they click on the link, you're still going to be able to retarget them because you got the Hot 28 set up. But sending people to a podcast work out really well, especially for your organic traffic. Again, I just really love this. Hey, most people just don't know their options. Getting onto podcasts, I think, can really be really strong for you all as well, too.
Yeah, that's, I think, really high priority to us.
Have you considered any radio at all? Like Pandora radio, anything like that?
Haven't yet. Again, it's more of a bandwidth issue than
Absolutely. But something to kind of give you an idea is just because I completely understand the bandwidth, is some of these costs may be a half or a quarter of what you're paying right now, and your conversions are so strong. Add on that video to that first page, start running some of this branded like on podcast or radio ads. It may be easier to set up an ad, for example, like on Pandora that runs for 30 days that you literally don't have to touch or do anything. So it's not optimizing on a regular basis, worrying about budget, any of that stuff. So just kind of...
On something like Pandora Radio, are you able to target demographics at all or no?
Yeah. So many people have been focused on Facebook and Google for a long time. TV, radio, online radio, you can target age groups, demographics, genders. Absolutely. So it's like you're advertising to a wide market at a $26 CPM. If your CPM was $15 to $20, same conversion rate, but hyper targeting with people who are that age range that have had problems before. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Again, you already have a great conversion to support that. So, okay. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to show you here, average purchase conversion value. I mean, just kind of show you a range. You can absolutely do what you're doing now because of your conversions. We up the price just a little bit from like bundles or some of the other options that you have may help out right away. But again, I like your model overall. So we talked about increasing your average purchase conversion value. We talked about how to increase your add to cart and landing page. So let's go ahead and talk about your CPM here for just a minute. I'm just curious what would happen if this was lowered to, let's just say $15. And obviously this isn't the exact same traffic if we're going to use some other sales channels, but I'm really kind of curious on the exact same numbers, what that looks like. I mean, again, it's still a 5% conversion, but if I go all the way down to the bottom, ROAS, that's a 2.32 ROAS.
Yeah.
Right now you're at 93 cents a landing page visit. Right. So if the CPM was lower and hypothetically the same numbers, that almost decreases it by half because you double the traffic we see right here. So something that you may consider is customers you've had in the past, a direct mail campaigns, 55 cents. You said you have experience with that. Yep. You know, asking people to come back, win back program, stuff like that can make a huge difference. And right now it would be half the cost of what you're spending for Facebook ads.
Yeah.
So direct mail to previous customers, number one, could really turn a whole bunch of new customers for you because it's low cost. Number two, you are at the spend level where as you feel comfortable working with an agency to either help deliver direct mail or help advertise on radio in specific markets like online digital radio. And depending with kind of, how comfortable you are, I mean, your content's really good for a mass market like TV, but you don't have to buy TV all over the US. You could just figure out in Nashville that you have a really good market there and you want to do a $10,000 test over the course of 45 days or 30 days. And you see in Nashville, do you start to see an incremental lift? And what people will start to see is, I thought I saw from your report, you're running Google too, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens is you start to see a lift on all three channels. So you start running on radio or you start running on TV, you actually start to see your brand awareness and brand awareness go up and your conversion costs go down on Facebook and on Google, because it's like, yeah, I saw a Facebook ad. And, oh yeah, I got retargeted by Google. Oh my God, I'm watching Friends on Hulu. And all of a sudden there's a commercial of somebody who's just like me that's 30 seconds long. Oh my God, they must have a huge advertising budget. I didn't realize that they're so relevant. And again, it could be a lot less costly. Just a couple of ideas for you. Like I just kind of wrap the whole thing up. I just can't stop staring at all these green areas. You're just doing so well in. Like you're helping people. You have great conversions. Again, this add to cart, small little number can make a huge difference. And I think we have some ideas there. Same thing with that average purchase conversion value. Just like we had talked about with the Patriot Greens, some people just want a deal. And I think that's how Patriot Greens did really good with that bundle.
Yeah.
Hey, look, you get 2 months free, and we're just going to charge you 1 month now, and then 30 days from now, we're going to charge you for the other 2 months or whatever.
Yeah.
People just feel like they're just getting a really good deal. They have to get the good deal.
Yeah.
So that could help increase your purchase conversion value. I'm excited for you to hire someone to help with some project management, to look into some of these additional ad channels, because if you're spending $10,000 a week right now, and you're seeing pretty close to your results, you are very close to making a couple of really small tweaks and or using some other ad channels to really grow this really quickly.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
A really great position.
There's a lot of possibilities.
And just a reminder is, it's tough to hire good people.
Yes.
But I think in my professional opinion, like that's the only thing that you're missing is just a little bit more time and a little bit, not saying you're disorganized, but a little bit more focused organization on kind of where you're spending your money. You're really close. You just got to have somebody help you out just a little bit. Like, I'm really excited for you. You're doing great. You're really doing great. Okay. So a couple of things to consider. So what a lot of people are seeing I'm seeing kind of the same thing, is let's take a look like audiences first. Again, look like audiences created before iOS update. Test that out. The second thing is you're running some pretty good scale. So you only need 250 records to create a lookalike audience. So you may consider to create a lookalike audience from October, just October sales that you upload. Create 1% through 10% for your lookalike audiences. 1% through 10%. Logic tells us if we run the 1% lookalike audience, that should be best. What I like to do is I like to set up a purchase conversion campaign, create 6 different ad sets. Ad set 1 would be 1%, ad set 2 would be 2%, ad set 3 would be 3%, ad set 4 would be 4%, or you can go 5 ad sets to ad set 5 would be 5%. And then I turn on CBO, it all runs your exact same creative. And Facebook's going to figure out between 1 and 5 what audience works out best. What I would also consider is, well, first of all, before I move on, does that make sense? 5 ad sets, each one has a different lookalike audience and ranging in percentage?
Yeah. Okay.
So the second thing that I'd consider testing is even a wider funnel, where the second thing I would test is a lookalike audience 6%, 7%, 8%, 9%, and 10% in a separate campaign. We are seeing for a shoe client of ours, 10% lookalike audience is just crushing it. Really wide. Basically what Facebook and Google have said for a long time, work on creative, we'll figure out the targeting. You have great creative and great click-through rates. We just need to have a little bit lower CPM and a little bit higher click-through rate, and you are right at your goal.
Yeah.
So number one, take a look at testing out 1% through 6% in one campaign and 5% through 10% in a second campaign. Now, have you also tried testing just wide open targeting? You just put in the age and female, and let it run?
I call it my open pixel. And I do get a little bit cheaper CPMs there. Last 7 days is $19, but my overall is 21.
Ooh, I mean, look at this. Again, this is why I built this whole thing too, right? So if we take a look and just say $21 just right here, I mean, gives you a 5% close rate.
Current.
That gets even closer to that ROAS.
Hold on, let me grab the right thing here.
Now, is there, again, no right or wrong, is there any reason specifically that you haven't just leaned in completely to open wide targeting?
I think the biggest reason I haven't is because, there's some days it jams and there's other days it's just.
So here, great point. So here's the way that I look at it. When I'm working with clients and they're like, and they send me an email Sunday morning, Saturday was the slowest day all month long. I tell them I won't reply back to you unless unless it's 3 days where the average is really sunk. Whenever a client says, hey, Saturday sucked, I'm going to take a look at the last 3 days, last 7 days, last 14 days, 21 days, and 30 days. And I will see a fluctuation with Facebook on wide open targeting over 3 or 4 days. But if my 30-day average is still strong, I'm just going to let it run and just let it run. And it will absolutely adjust itself. I have a client, we do this all the time. We've worked together for 1.5 years. They're like, Kurt, last 2 days have been slow. And I go, I tell you this all the time. Let's take a look at the last 30. We're right on track. I know, but the last 2 days were horrible. It's totally fine. Everything's right on track. Again, I'll remind you again, you have great conversions. Everything else is doing great. I'd leave that wide open targeting and increase the budget a little bit. I would try these wider open lookalike audiences. And also, if you have core interest audiences, what I've seen a lot of people do is really just put all the interest into one big audience. The bigger, the better.
Yeah.
But your conversions work for open targeting as well, too. So you got open targeting for an idea, which you're already running. The high percentages of lookalike audiences. Remember, you can test lots of different lookalike audiences, sales in October, sales with your highest lead conversion value. It only takes 250. Any mix that you want to do. Okay. A lot of people are just like, well, I just have my lead pixel, and that's a that's a lookalike audience. Well, there's lots of 1 to 10% lookalike audiences you can create if you know that the audience size is just 250. So should give you a couple ideas from direct mail, which you've done before. That's a great way to bring in revenue from your old customers. Yeah. Great way to, to buy lists, to get people over to your page as well too. Check out the free interview here to find out more. I think that's a great value proposition. Radio, podcast interviews, where you can actually advertise in a very specific demographic as the podcast plays, kind of like YouTube ads, right? On content creators, same thing. So, if it's a female show about over 50, and all of a sudden your radio commercial comes on. So I think you have a lot of options. Just kind of keep in mind, in my opinion, your CPM is right around $20. Yeah. Any other CPM that you can get below $20, pretty close targeted to who you're looking for, I'd be really excited to look in those other channels. Actually, 2 things that you may consider. Like I said, one is influencers, because it's basically endorsed traffic, right? They're endorsing you. They're saying, hey, you should try this out. I think influencers can work with you really great. The other thing that you may consider, completely up to you, and this could take off like a rocket ship. So this company right here is called Digistore. Digistore is kind of like a ClickBank for affiliates. And they have a lot of affiliates here. Your product right here would crush it on their system. I just met with the CFO about a month ago, or the CMO about a month ago, bought me a really good steak dinner. It was great. And basically I'm like, hey, look, costs are high on Facebook. Who's a good referral for you? And he's like, well, they got to have a proven product. Supplements do really well with them, like weight loss, female supplements, stuff like that do really well with them. Then they have affiliate marketing stuff, like how to make money and other stuff. But basically what Digistore will do is Digistore's the merchant account. So if there's any other affiliates or referrals or whatever, from your side of things, they handle referrals. They take care of everything, taxes, who pays what. If someone's in another country promoting you, they take care of the quality assurance, all that stuff. You just have to deliver your product and give a great customer service experience. They will help make sure the payment system is integrated, help build out on your landing pages, and even help some initial affiliates to say, hey, this is an offer that you may want to try. They're spending, this is what I would say, you're already spending, and I know you're not always doing this, but you can spend up to $10,000 a week on a converting offer, and your numbers are strong to show someone else. And typically what an affiliate's going to look for is just a one-time payout. So affiliate's going to look for something like, hey, I'll pay you $25 a bottle. And I'm not joking, especially with these guys, but you can only sell 250 a day because it's thousands. Yeah. So you may consider something like this because you have a great converting product. It can really help people out. You pay the affiliate basically what your cost per acquisition, or maybe even $20, right? But they're just looking for the one-time sale. That's it. And I think this could be a really good advertising channel for you.
That is intriguing.
Like I have friends that do diet offers on here. And then basically the more the affiliates sell, the more that it ranks in their system. So it brings on other affiliates. So it's not you running out to recruit other affiliates. What they do is they recruit 1 or 2 or 3 affiliates to mail a little test offer, right? Run traffic, test it, whatever. And once they do, and it starts to sell, then it starts to rank. So other affiliates who are coming out, blog posts, stuff like that, things can accelerate pretty quickly with a campaign like this because you have proven conversions in a great market. You're really helping people. Cool. Any other questions, comments, divine revelations that you had from spending the 2 hours with us and going through the process?
Lots of ideas of of where to put my energy next. So super excited about that, and really intrigued about testing that landing page.
Small little tweaks can make a huge difference.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Well, again, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Keep us posted on what you do next.
Yeah, I will. Thank you so much, Kirsti.